So we can go ahead now and get started. And I am Leslie Scott, and I will turn on my video now. Maybe. There we go. And welcome everyone to our Wednesday 101 webinar on environmental justice and action. We have people from all over, so I don't know how relevant it will be to go over our reuseful website, but I just encourage you to check out our website for our upcoming webinar events. We have them twice a month, and we'll be doing all kinds of cool things from backyard chickens to sort of basic auto maintenance, which we have some really cool college students working on that as an Enactus project. It's called Stay Driven. So lots of cool stuff happening this spring. If you're in the KC region, you can come to our repair cafes and our undumpster days. I don't expect Dan is going to be coming from Luxembourg to any of those,
Nope.
but we welcome you to
No.
if you so chose to. So again, if you haven't already, I would just ask if you can to drop who you are, where you're coming to us from, and maybe what you might want to get out of today's webinar. And with that, I think I'll go ahead and turn it over to Magali Rojas, who is a very knowledgeable environmental justice professional who is coming to us to bring her personal experience in this field to just give an overview, and then we'll hand it over to Jay Jones, who's got an environmental justice hub happening. So that, Magali, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Leslie. I'll share my screen now. Okay. Okay, thank you for introducing me, Leslie. Like you said, I have a background in environmental justice. I was originally going to present on behalf of the organization that I work at. I saw some people made some comments about how the new administration is impacting the work, and that's something that's happening at the federal level. There's been executive orders that have put just certain restrictions on what we can say at our job about diversity, equity, inclusion, and also about accessibility, environmental justice, all those things. To start off, I have various different roles that I play in the community here in Kansas City. So one of the things that I ask you first is to start with a meditation. This is something that I learned from the one of the organizations that I'm a board member, TRA, the Resilient Activists. And so if you like to close your eyes or keep them open, I ask you to do so. Take a deep breath in. Let it out. And just feel your body, feel yourself, whether you're in a seat, whether you're in your car driving somewhere on your phone. Just take another breath and connect with yourself, connect with your body, feel whatever you're feeling around you, whether you're feeling cold, whether you're feeling the warmness of your home, feeling your gravitational pull to your chair. And remember the connection that we have to this earth, the connection that we have to ourselves, and the connection that we have to others. Think about how the mycelium in the ground is connecting to the other roots and creating this growth of flowers. And imagine a flower growing through something as hard as concrete and being able to be resilient and making through.
What color is the flower?
The color of the flower is green. It's starting to bud. You can see the leaves that are starting to slowly bud out, and you're feeling that connection. And I'm sorry if you can hear my dog barking in the background. Let's take another breath and come back. Open your eyes. And thank you for joining me in that small meditation.
That's okay.
Okay, I
Oh,
will
is that it? Is that the
continue.
meditation done?
Yes, the
Oh,
meditation.
okay.
Thank
It
you
was
so much.
beautiful, Magali. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so to start off with the presentation, we'll start off by defining environmental justice, and we'll do so through some of these different quotes that I've found here. The first quote is, "The environmental movement is not just about saving the planet. It's about saving the lives of people, particularly those most vulnerable." The next one is, "We cannot afford to allow environmental degradation to continue in poor, marginalized communities." The next one is, "The fight for environmental justice is a fight for all humanity. We have a responsibility to protect our planet and those most at
I just
risk."
did something to my microphone. Can you guys still hear me? I think I unplugged it and I don't know if it's plugged back in.
Yes, we can still
Okay,
hear
okay.
you.
I'm sorry. I'll mute myself. Sorry.
Next is, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." The same is true for environmental justice. And here we have one. Um, Environmental justice is the idea that regardless of who you are, regardless of your nationality or your identity, regardless of your income, everyone should have the right to a fair and equitable environment, and that enables them to live to the fullest of their potential and to create meaning fully to society. And the last one is by Dr. Robert D. Bullard, who is known as the father of environmental justice. Environmental justice embraces the principle that all people and communities have a right to equal protection and equal enforcement of environmental laws and regulations. And here on the left, we see the birthplace of environmental justice move in a predominantly Black neighborhood in Warren County, North Carolina. This was in 1982. So some of the things that we heard from those quotes were the impact to the environment, and that could be various things that we see when we talk about environmental justice, whether it's through regulations, whether it's pollution, and that could be in rural areas or urban areas. The way that it impacts the economy, the people that are most vulnerable, whether it's children or women, um, elderly people, people with disabilities, and our natural resources, and the world, how that's been impacting those places. But when we think about environmental justice we have to think about. I am really sorry, everyone. I think my dog has to go out, so I'm just going to stand up real quick and open the door for him.
How are you guys finding it so far? Oh, sorry, I'll be quiet.
Thank you for your patience. Okay. So when we talk about environmental justice, through the work that I've been doing in nonprofits, we look at location, we look at science and research, we look at education and outreach and advocacy. What can we do? So that's what this presentation will be about as we talk about environmental justice. So through a previous organization, Heartland Conservation Alliance here in Kansas City, the work that I started to do that really focused on environmental justice had to do with the Blue River watershed. The Blue River watershed starts in Johnson County, and there's areas there that are more rural, and it flows through Kansas City, Missouri, passes the Sioux, and it flows down into the Missouri River in areas where Blue Valley Park is located. I grew up on the east side of Kansas City, Missouri, and in that area, I noticed the difference. There are older buildings, older housing, and the practices of redlining, where it made it really challenging for people that looked like myself and other people that were of darker skin to be able to purchase housing and to be able to get out of those areas and try to advocate together. And that had to do because of language barriers. It had to do because of having lower income. And it was issues that I noticed Black and Brown people most commonly face, and also white people of lower income. And these environmental issues looked different depending if they were in rural environmental areas. And here I have some of those issues, like for rural areas, we saw deforestation of land, pesticide overuse, groundwater depletion. In urban areas, we saw air pollution that were primarily being caused by vehicle emissions, contributing to respiratory problems and poor air quality. We're talking about the Blue River, so the runoff from streets carrying pollutants like chemicals and debris. During this time of the season, we tend to oversalt, so a lot of that just goes back into the water. And all of that pollution, it causes a stress on our mental or emotional health. And there's also other indoor pollution that we don't always know that exists, or we know it exists, but we don't really know what to do afterwards after we've addressed it. And those issues include mold and lead and asbestos, radon, and volatile organic compounds, things that we're breathing in are causing issues like cancer. I mentioned respiratory problems, and mental health problems as well. So location plays a big role when we talk about environmental justice, where the people live and where the natural resources are at. Now, science and research also play a big role in this type of work. On the right, there's a picture of the EPA mapping tool. This tool has been taken off the site. It no longer is there. There's some people that have downloaded the tool, but when we change administrations, we're also taking away from the research that people place so that it can help us determine what areas to focus in On the map, the red means that there were more concentrated areas. The yellow and the orange are also concentrated areas, but less than its counterparts.
What's the concentration? Can I ask? What's it measuring?
It measured different things.
Okay,
It could have measured the
Dan,
air
maybe if you were
quality,
listening.
could measure the lead in the soil. It specifically, I'm
Sorry,
not sure what it was measuring.
I was just a bit distracted. Leslie said let's keep on topic.
Okay.
I think the election is on topic. Trump's going to ruin the planet, and it's just makes me kind of sad, man. If we don't
I,
speak about this, democracy is going to die, and you know.
no, I hear you. Um, and thank you for bringing that up. I think that's something that is a part of this conversation that I will get into. The other thing that science and research addresses are the health and environmental impacts that I mentioned, the impacts that people are receiving, and all these other issues. And to your point, to
Can I
be,
just ask? Can I just ask? Did you vote Kamala?
Dan, can
I'm
you stop
sorry,
interrupting, please?
Yeah.
yes.
So if we can't get through the content, it's not going to be a useful webinar today. So if
I
you would
think we
like,
should make a slot for questions at the end or something, or
We
we
yeah,
have a
are,
break where we
but
ask
if you can
questions,
please
we
give
just
me
so
an
will.
people stay
opportunity to
And
talk.
entertained.
and you can also use this as an opportunity to connect with other people and talk offline about any kind of action. So feel free to do.
Okay,
Yeah, okay.
sorry
Thank you.
guys. Sorry guys, my
Yeah, shut
bad.
up, Dan.
Thank you for asking those questions.
That
But
was
yeah, would you
that
please
was a bit
mind
rude,
letting
Mike.
me, yeah, just if you can just let me finish
Yes.
this, I would greatly appreciate it. And then, like Leslie said, I will answer any questions at the end. I just really think everyone else wants to listen and learn about environmental justice and get something out of it. And yeah, I will proceed. So I mentioned
My
previously
bad.
that
Sorry.
science and research is really important to be able to create different tools around advocacy. So to your point, like doing something about it, getting out in the community, research is really important so that we can be able to qualify what is happening, and then we can put it into the scope of what we're trying to write and interpret those things and how it's impacting the communities that are most at risk. And education outreach is a really important piece to that. Being inclusive and culturally relevant. Here I have a sign from another organization that I am conservation network at. This is the Hispanic Access Foundation. It says maintain, inform, and maintain sure that, and for more information that you can visit their website. But this was something that they put out during the fires that were happening in the West Coast. And this was done in a language where people who speak Spanish can understand and take this information and use it. And so tailoring messages and education material should be culturally relevant and tailored to specific communities that they aim to serve.
All right,
And,
how long is this again? It's the whole thing.
The webinar is an hour long.
Okay, thank you.
and then also having, like I mentioned, resource in different languages is really important. Raising awareness, addressing the intersection of environmental and social justice. So having outreach programs that can educate communities about how environmental justice is interconnected with other social justice issues, such as racial, economic, and health inequities, and understanding systemic racism and environmental policies. Highlighting the historical and systemic nature of environmental racism, where communities of color are exposed to more environmental hazards, and highlighting the disparities as well. Those
Wait, guys.
Dan, so we're in the middle of a presentation. And if we can't get through that, then there are a whole bunch of other people who are here to learn. So, if you'd like to go offline
You're right.
and talk with
I'm gonna
folks,
unplug my
then
mic.
that's
I'm
fine.
gonna unplug my mic. That's
Okay.
cool.
Okay.
Thank you, Leslie. And I mentioned highlighting these disparities is important, addressing the lack of access to green spaces and helping raise some awareness. And lastly, also building partnerships, building those partnerships with organizations and nonprofits in your areas that are already doing this work and not recreating the wheel there. And then fostering that more in-depth research and education and outreach programs that addresses these vulnerable communities. And lastly, advocating by empowering communities, whether it's through workshops, doing outreach programs can help equip marginalized communities with the knowledge needed to understand environmental issues and identifying hazards and taking action. This might include workshops on air quality, waste management, or sustainable practices. And also remembering to encourage the youth that are learning about this. This is a time where there's a lot of climate anxiety, um, and there's a difference between climate justice and energy justice. Sorry, environmental justice. There's a lot of different justices that we talk about, but they're
So many,
predominantly
man.
very similar.
So many.
And also building advocacy skills. So building training tools, to Dan's point, doing something about it, and providing different opportunities to teach and petition and to effectively communicate with policymakers about these environmental justice issues, and also making this in a way that people can understand, that they are what they're doing and how they're addressing these laws to fight against this injustice is very crucial for advocacy. And lastly, creating pathway for policies change. So engaging with those local leaders, and engaging the community and creating your own community to unify those voices and advocate for change. And again, collaborating with those policymakers so that you can provide effective outreach should you aim to build relationships with local and national policymakers that ensure educational campaigns lead to real world policy changes. But yeah, wanted to see if there were any questions. If not, I think we can also move on, Leslie, and do questions at the end. I have this picture because Casey has been working on their regional climate action plan, and they will be having something here in I believe it's in April, but if you're in Kansas City, I would encourage you to join.
Yeah. Thank you, Magali. Appreciate that.
Thanks.
And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jay. I need to bring up, so Magali, I think you can stop sharing now.
Can you hear me?
I can. Let me bring your slides up. I'm not sure. How this is going to work exactly. There we go. Well, go ahead and get started while get
Okay.
your slides up.
How everybody
Jay.
doing today?
You can introduce
My name is
yourself.
Jay Jones. I'm a community
There we go.
organizer with Moore Square. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, born and raised, and I'm organizing around environmental justice. And what we're doing,
I love that chain, bro.
what we're doing is we're creating an environmental action hub that's in the 3rd district, particularly the Prospect Corridor. The location is Central Christian Church, 3801 Linwood Boulevard, KCMO 64128. I put the wrong zip code on there. Our hub hours are Thursdays from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. to noon. And we host a monthly meeting the 3rd Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. So when I describe the hub, it's 4 things that I think about. I think about education, empowerment, connection, and changing for the better. Everything Magali said was on point. Everything she said, that's why we're connecting in the next few weeks, is everything that we're doing. We're doing it more at a grassroots level. So when you come to the hub, we want people to understand what environmental racism is. We're changing the language. They call it environmental justice. We're calling it environmental racism. Also, when you think about our hub, we want residents and community members to learn from elected officials and government
back.
leaders about certain issues that's happening in the community. And we want our community members to tell us their story. What environmental issue has impacted you and you in the community? Because what we believe is once you start connecting issues with each other, people can start identifying other issues as well. And from the empowerment standpoint, what we want to do is we want to conduct local leadership training at our hub as well. Leslie, you want to move down to the next slide? We want to conduct local leadership training. We want to develop leaders, give them opportunities to become leaders in our community. We are a faith-based organization, so we do everything in the lens of faith-based. We got 40 congregations as a part of our organization, so we try to, build leaders in their congregations, and attack issues like environmental justice or environmental racism issues. Also from the empowerment standpoint, we want to build power to address change in our communities. When it comes to empowerment, the same things that's been happening for years in our community, you want to change that temperature. We want to give people,
Can I just ask,
a voice.
what is environmental
Dan, please
racism again?
shut up.
Yeah, we need to go ahead and get through this, okay?
Sorry, I was just curious.
You can move to the next slide, Leslie. When it comes to connection, when I think about connecting, when you talk about our hub, we want partners to come in and present, the things that they're doing for the community to address environmental issues. We also want to be a place where people can find solutions to their issues when they come in and say that, oh, okay, we having issues with flooding in our area. Our hub wants to help, residents in that area find those issues. We want to be a center where we're brokering resources, also connecting with nonprofit organizations, like Bridging the Gap, getting connecting with Sierra Club, connecting with Evergy, connecting with organizations like Metro Energy Center, to connect our community with those resources, so they can know that it's there and available for them. Because environmental justice is a new term. It's not really a new term, but when it comes to like educating people in disadvantaged communities, they got to understand what that is, and that's what we're trying to do with our hub. When we think about changing our community for the better, it's a lot of things. We want people to advocate, for certain issues in their community. If it comes to sidewalks, if it comes to like trees and things like that. But I want to give my testimony, because I believe in, when you talk about environmental justice, you have to have some type of skin in the game, and issues where it's really affecting you. I grew up in an area where they built a highway, in our neighborhoods. It displaced over 2,500 homes and people of color. And when that highway was built, we thought it was luxury. We thought it was a thing of easier access to the city. But the older I got, the more I realized that was one of the biggest environmental racism issues that has happened in our city. What I mean by that is it was a particular policy that was put in place to affect the area that where I grew up at. And putting that highway in there also took away green space. When you think about green space, you think about trees, you think about parks, and things like that. And that's really affected our community when it comes from the mental health standpoint. And also, when I was a sophomore in high school, we had an ice storm here in Kansas City, and we lost over 500,000 trees that year, 500,000 trees. And just doing research and understanding the impact of losing those trees in our community, and just where we are now with the heat zone, and the heat pockets and stuff like that, that's really affected. Even 20 years later, it's still affecting our community. But our hub is a place where we want to not just exist one year. We want this hub to be a thing. We want this hub to help build leaders in our community around environmental justice issues, environmental racist issues. If it comes to like illegal dumping, like how can we find solutions to help fix that? If it comes to understanding, the lead issues that's in our soil, the quality of air, and I want to touch on what Magalia said about the EPA mapping tool. So we actually use that in our hub, and we've been using it over the last few months, just doing research. And until she said that, like we've literally been having issues with that. And we want to like, okay, they'll get it up, one day. We're thinking that is a transition. When I didn't realize till she said that with changing administration, they did take away that tool for us. So now I gotta take that information, back to the hub. Like, okay, that was intentional, So we got to find another means of finding our resources to help with these issues, and at least identifying those issues. Anybody got any questions for me? I know my presentation was not as big as Magalia's, but any questions for me about our environmental action hub?
I think Miss Marcia has a question, and so does Sammy. So, Miss Marcia, if you'd like to go first.
Jay, good morning. Thank you
Good
for
morning.
being here. I mean,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm surprised at what you're doing, and I haven't heard about it. I
Mhm.
definitely am going to drop by your hub on the day that weather permits. I don't think I'll get there tomorrow,
Yes, ma'am.
but hopefully Saturday.
So yeah, Saturday. So what I'll do is I'll put my email and my phone number in the chat,
Please
and
do.
you can just connect with me that way, because this weather up here, and it's like, do we want to open the hub? Like, if people ain't gonna come, we not go. That resource ain't gonna be there.
Well, probably for tomorrow, you should probably not open just for safety reasons.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Do you live in the third district?
Well, I don't now. I was born and raised there, and I'm working to get back there.
Yeah.
So,
So
so Jay, I was just going to ask you if you could talk a little bit more about the neighborhood where you chose to put your environmental justice hub, and why you put it there.
so we put it there actually because we had support, from the councilman, and they endorsed it. Dr. Jones, she endorsed it. So that area is a very disadvantaged area. I grew up in that third district area. My grandmother's house, I grew up there, all the way till I was 14 years old. And just being tied to that area, We have Central Christian Church, Pastor Antoine Lee. He's been advocating for change, for environmental justice for a long time, and it made sense for us to find that location over there, to help support, his message, and actually have a physical location, which he actually developed, in his church. Like he actually built a physical location for people to come in and actually come to the hub. It's a high crime area. There's several schools over there, and when you think about environmental justice, some people just think about trees and native plants, and I'm trying to get people to think about their whole built environment. Like it comes to like vacant houses and, vacant lots. Like, are we going to continue to look at those areas for the next 10, 15 years? So how can we address those issues? And when I tell people, when I talk about this, I tell them that we owe it to our next generation and our next future kids for them not to live in our same generation that we live in now. So we owe it to them. So in that area is a targeted area because we care about it. It's a lot of homelessness over there areas, a lot of issues that need to be addressed. And we feel like when it comes to advocacy and building power and empowerment, I mean, that's a good fit for people to start understanding that your voice matter. Like, don't just go with the norm and think that nothing's going to happen. Like, your voice literally matters, and you do have a voice when it comes to change. Changes in numbers.
I love your location. I went to Central Junior.
Yes, man. It's right across the really right across the
Right.
street.
And I'm from the Dunbar neighborhood. And one thing, and Magali mentioned this, a big problem with illegal dumping.
Yeah, that's an issue. And what we find out more is, more that we're doing this work is it's not residents that's living in those communities actually doing illegal dumping. It's companies that's living outside of our city that's actually coming in there and dumping in our city.
Yeah.
All right, Sammy.
I'm on board.
Yes, ma'am.
Sammy.
Yes. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for joining us today from the founder of the Resilient Activist. So pleased to have you here.
Hey, Miss Sammy.
I'm delighted to have Magali do part of this presentation. She's on our board, so that was really sweet. And Jay, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Leslie, could you scroll back up to the first or the slide that has the different meeting dates and so on? And Jay, if you could kind of explain what happens during the hub and what's the difference between a hub meeting and a monthly meeting, that kind of thing on the 3 different dates.
Okay. So our hub hours is the day where the physical location is open for residents to come in to address any issues, to find any resources, things like that. And our monthly meeting is where the hub task force, and the hub is open to anybody. Anybody who wants to be a part of the hub can join our hub. And in those meetings, we determine what issues are we going to prioritize when it comes to addressing those issues. It might be a smaller issue that might take a little bit longer to tap into, like this gas leak that we're working on. That's a longer six month issue that we're working on. But if we can get a small win, that's that first priority that we're trying to figure out how can we attack this issue and get this issue so the hub can get a win. So that's what those meetings are for. But those hub hours are just normal business hours, because those hours we selected, just in case if you try to find resources at a city office or something like that, or those nonprofits that we're trying to connect with, 9 times out of 10 they're not open like on the Thursday after 5. So that's why we decided that time. And they're not open on a Saturday morning. So that's why we're decided that time. So we just try to keep a balance, and it's up to our hub team and our task force to get those resources for the residents in those areas. We just thinking it's something that we're creating. So it's not nothing where it's a handbook. Like, this is all stuff that we're like, how could this hub look? What would it look like to you? What would it look like to you? And we're just coming up with all these ideas and just saying what makes sense for our hub.
I get it. Yeah, that's really hard when you're just there's no booklet, right, to
Yeah.
tell you what to do. So as a nonprofit who works towards environmental justice and environmental racism, um, would it be appropriate for someone from our organization, and maybe Magali, you're already going to the meetings, but to try to attend like the monthly meeting on the third Tuesday? Would that be a
Yes, and we want to get everybody involved. So we have this whole vision as the hub team. So we got this vision. We got this backspace in our hub office that's empty, and what we want to do is put our hub logo in the middle of that space, but also have like a web of partners, like a web, and have partners like when people come in, like, oh, okay, I know who Mark is, or I know who they are, and know who they are, and just connect them. I think what we're trying to do is get more people that's in the environmental space in those spaces, because we're all literally reaching and targeting the same people, but we're doing it in a different way. And our hub is a space where people can say, okay, let's meet once a month. Let's talk about these issues in this particular area of town, which is the third district, 64109, 64128, 64127 zip codes. That's really the target area that we're looking for. Not saying if someone from out south was to come in and say, we have an issue too, we're not going to say, oh, no, this is not the area. We want to hear everybody issue, and maybe how can we get a hub started out south. So this is, like I said, this is a project, and the more people that we get involved with this, I think the more that we can solidify this space for our environmental action hub in the third district.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks for your initiative and tenacity.
Yeah, for sure.
Jay, I was wondering if you could talk about the funding that was the genesis of this hub, and just kind of any concerns you might have
Yeah.
as we're going through what we're going through.
So Moore Square, this initiative, this environmental initiative, is something that's new to Moore Square. So we're under the Gamelia Network umbrella, and they went after an EPA grant where they wanted to start tapping into environmental justice, and they selected Moore Square to be a pilot partner, and they was looking for organizers to organize around environmental justice. I've been in this space for a while, and they went after this grant. They awarded us the grant. And I think the concerns I think it's the administration, and I didn't expect to talk about that type of stuff, but the administration is the concern, because we haven't had that money, and I've been with the organization for a year, and that money hasn't been sent yet. So we're just trying to figure out, the things when this comes to the tie with the EPA money. But it's an issue right now. I mean, the executive order has affected, for sure, the work that I'm doing.
And it was the Communities Change grant, right?
Yes, it was. Yes, the community change grant. Yes.
Which, clearly a year ago, we had a different administration. So, there's something in addition that's happening that
Yeah.
we just, I guess don't have transparency into. Okay, so Marcia, you have your hand up again?
Yes, I always got my hand up. I always got a question. Um, actually, how will, and I put this in the chat, the new administration, how is this really going to affect programs like this? That's question one. And the second question is, I'm not, and this might not be exactly a question, but the water problems that they had in Flint, Michigan, how do we stop that from ever happening again?
To be honest, I think to answer both of those questions, it affect the programs that we're doing, because it costs money to actually do the work. Me personally, it has affected my community my whole life. So it's more personal to me, so even if the funds wasn't there, I would still be advocating for these issues. I think from the standpoint of funds, the only way you can do this work is literally having the money to do the work. But it's a fear for some people, because it's a lot of people that want to get the work done, but if they don't have the funds, it's like, okay, we're not going to do it. But do we give up? And that's what I ask myself. Do we give up? Do we say, okay, do we wait it out 4 years and wait on a plan to see if we get the right people in office that support us? We can't give up this work, regardless of funding, or what it looks like 2 months from now, 2 years from now. This work that we're doing has been an issue for years, regardless of what administration has been, around. But we at a point now where it's more vocal and there's more people that's caring about the issue, and our job is to get people to say, you can't give up this fight. You can't give up this fight, because what you're not only doing is affecting you're affecting your grandbabies, you're affecting your grandbaby kids, because if you saying that you don't care now, you don't care about their future.
But I definitely have more time than money.
Yeah.
And I mean, I understand that Leslie, my Glea, that's is grassroots,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like the perfect place for me.
Yeah. I mean, this what we're doing is, we're creating leaders, and we're doing it through this Gamaliel training, and we'll host a local training like every quarter, or two every quarter or something like that. And what we're trying to do is get people to envision their power within inside, like turning that pain that's deep inside of you. There's something in there that's ticking you off, and it's a scope of training that we go through that actually get that out of you. I'm doing this work because I lost my dad in Iraq, back in 2020, and and my legacy matters to me, and it's personal, and I want to be in this space to help change our community. So, and that training has got that out of me to say, yeah, this matters. This matters. So that's what our leadership training is. Hey, Miss Curl.
Just real quick, Jay, the
Yes, ma'am.
Familial Network is what President Obama,
Yeah,
when he was in his organizing days in Chicago, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and yes, I'm so sorry for your loss.
Oh
Of
no, that's
that,
fine. No.
Jay.
That's my power. It makes me smile. That's my power now. So
There you go. There you go. Carol.
Yes, and as far as funding is concerned, I'm thinking that their government sources are tenuous, even at the best and most generous. Is there any thought of or possibility of trying to raise some endowments or otherwise become community based on some of these projects, the funding, just so that we're not dependent on how well our local electees can convince others, 400 other people that we need the money. We know we need the money, so can we devise some ways to raise it ourselves?
If I can answer this question, I think so, like for sure. I think that's where we need to start thinking outside the box, because those unrestricted fundings are what's going to help us to carry out the things that we can do under the administration. And for that, we need to think of what other jobs exist that support environmental sustainability, those big key words. And like we have a Chiefs team that's like looking that's donating a lot of money. So there's a lot of different organizations. There's money that's coming out right now too from the women's not the women's, the FIFA, the national soccer team. And so that's something that's going to create a lot of projects too, to be able to remove the trash, and that trash that I mentioned along the Blue River. And that's something that just can't be, that will be for short term. It needs to be something that will be for the long term too. I also want to mention, I see Billy Davis on the call,
Yeah,
and he's a part of, yeah, I see you, Billy. I'm gonna call you out on
that's
you.
our guy.
Sierra Club, and the work that he's been doing, and that's with energy justice and trying to remove a lot of the coal that we use here, that's hurting us too, with the Hawthorne coal plant. And then, yeah, I also want to mention the different communities. Something that I wanted to hit on with the presentation that I was giving is we can't talk about justice. And, Jay mentioned environmental racism. We also right now, like the Latino community, is facing a lot of that injustice right now with immigration issues and ICE and deportations and mass deportations, where you're losing a lot of workers that like work out in rural communities, and we're suffering, our environment is suffering that as well, and the different places that we're living. We can't just talk about, like the different things that impact, the just the land, but also what impacts our family and our security and our livelihood. All those things are environmental justice, environmental racism, energy justice. They all go hand in hand. Um, and then one last thing is, last week, I believe it was when I attended Wealth Day over in the Topeka Capitol. So they are passing, or they're trying to pass different House bills. And that's where we need to also like step up and step out and go and vote for those or against those issues. So you have House bills that were for water or energy or land. And Billy's counterpart, Zach Pistora, was out there too. So it's just different people connecting with them, getting to learn a little bit more about them, stepping out of your comfort zone. And whether you are Black, whether you're white, you can be an ally, and support the communities, and be someone. You don't have to like put the different things that pull us together. You can use different people. Like you have Leslie here, who's been a long supporter. Like I've known Leslie for years, and she lifts up these platforms so that we can speak up about these issues. And I just want to connect to more people like Jay, like mentioned, he's super cool. Want to get to know him more. And he uses the thing that, most people would think that would hurt them, and he makes that his superpower. So thank you for sharing that, Jay. I don't know if you want to add to answer Miss Carol's question.
No, I literally, no, I forgot the question, to be honest. Yeah, I was listening to you and so much processing.
Well,
Any-
I wanted to build on what you were saying, Magali, and just suggesting that, we're kind of hyper focused on the federal level, but there, to your point, there's local funding, there's state funding, there's county funding, there are policies on all levels of government. And we need to be keeping our eye on those, and, thinking about how we can provide education and advocacy around those issues, so that we are thinking in multiple ways about how we can support the work, and how we can get those elected officials on board. You know, Tip O'Neill used to say all politics is local. So, just not having our eye on that ball, I think, just narrows our focus to the point where we're not using all the tools in our toolbox.
Okay, excuse me, Mike, we're still talking about government funding. The question I was asking, I'm really focusing on actual grassroots involvement, and I know it involves a lot of education, and it would involve a lot of going out and talking to people. But I believe that our communities actually own a lot of the money that it takes to do these things. But a lot of us don't know what needs to be done, and we don't know that we can direct any funds in that way. I'm not saying we can do it all, but I'm saying that we can do some of it. And a lot of times, if we do these things, we find these governmental agencies are more motivated to come alongside.
So Miss Carol, what I think we should do is me and you should connect, because I see a leader when I see a leader, and you got some stuff that's in your mind that somebody need to hear. So me and you should connect, so we can get you in those places where somebody can hear your voice.
That's my sister.
All right, then.
I see a one-on-one in your
Yeah.
future.
All right, then. I can do that, Jay. I don't know how much of a leader I am, but we can talk.
It's
We
something
can talk.
it's something new. That when I said leader, that face and that smile came on there. Somebody gonna get something out of you. We're gonna get something out of you.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we are very almost at time here, and I wanted to take a moment and just apologize to all our attendees for having some disruptions earlier. You know, this is a topic people are passionate about, and I really don't want to shut somebody down, you know, unless it's absolutely necessary. So we got back on track, and appreciate everyone's patience, but we are at time, and just want to thank everyone for being here. I will send out the recording and the slides, and then also the link to our other webinars coming up, and we hope to see you there. And thank you to Jay and Magali for presenting today.
Let's make sure you
Thank
get our
you.
people's contact information, please.
Sure.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Yeah.
bye.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Much, y'all. Appreciate your work. Take care.
Yeah.